Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Planning and Development Advisory Committee for September the 14th. I'm calling the meeting to order. We'll do the roll call. Just to signify present. Deep, Bassi,
Present.
Paul Sedra,
Present.
Dan Kennedy,
Present.
Dennis O'Connor,
Present.
and I, John Sapoulos, I'm present as well. Today we have two committees. One is the Committee of Adjustment, where we'll be deliberating a minor variance application before us. We'll adjourn the Committee of Adjustment, and then we'll move on to the Planning Development Advisory Committee, where we will be reviewing and deliberating a property standards appeal. So let's start with the Committee of Adjustment. Do we have, Lynn, do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest?
No, Mr. Chair, we did not.
Fair enough, thank you. Let's move to item 5, approval of minutes. May I have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes of August the 10th, 2021.
I'll move.
Dennis moves,
I'll
second.
second. I will.
Okay, all in favor, let's go around the table. Deep,
Approved.
Paul,
Approved.
Dan,
Approved.
Dennis,
Approve.
and I approve as well. Okay, please note that this meeting is audio recorded, a video and audio recorded, and all electronic meetings are uploaded to municipality's YouTube page. By registering to participate in a meeting by electronic means, you're consenting to have your likeness and comments recorded and posted on YouTube. So we'll move right into the item 6, applications for minor variance or permission under section 45 of the Planning Act. And the purpose of this hearing is to inform and provide the public with the opportunity to ask questions or express their views with respect to a minor variance application before us today. The township requests you please notify the secretary of the committee by email at linbanks@puslinch.ca if you wish to be on record and would like to be notified of future hearings and decisions regarding this application. So the format of the hearing as follows. Staff will present the information report, specifically outlining the purpose, compliance with the township's notification, and submission requirements, and outlining staff comments, agency comments, and public comments of those who could not attend. Then we'll ask the applicant or their agent to present the purpose and details of the application and any further relevant information. Following this, we'll turn it over to the public, who can ask questions, ask for clarification, express the views on the proposal, and we'll give each member of the public 10 minutes to speak. Following this, the members of the committee can likewise obtain clarification, ask questions. The committee will deliberate the application and render a decision. The decision will be subject to a 20-day appeal period. So before I continue, we did the staff. Also in attendance is our municipal clerk, Courtney Hoyt-Fox, our deputy clerk, Jeff Bund, our secretary treasurer, Lynn Banks, and county planning staff, Zach Prince and Joanna Salzberg. So the minor variance application before us today is D13-FAL, Stephen Terry Lynn Falco, 6537 Roselle Road, rear part lot 2, concession 3, township of Puslinch, requesting relief of new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended from section 4.12A home industries. The purpose and effect of the application is to provide relief from section 4.12A to permit the storage of 4 trucks and 4 trailers for home industry use. So we'll turn it over to our staff. Lynn, would you please summarize the application, notification, and submission requirements, outlining staff and agency comments and recommendations, as well as public comments of those who could not attend?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. I will note that the application originally requested relief for 3 parking spaces. We did confirm with the owner that it is for 4. An amended notice went out the 1st of September to the agencies and to the neighboring buffer that it is for 4. So everyone is aware that they are requesting relief for 4 parking spaces.
Great.
So notice of the application was given in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act. Notice requirements for the application have been met and the following comments were received. The GRCA says a majority of the subject property is regulated by the GRCA under Ontario Regulation 150/06, Development Interference with Wetlands and Alterations to Shorelines and Watercourses Regulation. Any future development within the regulated area on the subject lands will require the prior issuance of a permit pursuant to Ontario Regulation 150/06. The permit process involves the submission of a permit application to their office, the review of the application by authority staff, and the subsequent approval or refusal of the permit by the GRCA. Source Water has provided the comment that as it pertains to this application and based on the submitted documents, the activities proposed at the subject property would not be considered a significant drinking water threat. Although this property is located within an issue contributing area for chloride, there is no indication that the activities proposed would require excessive salt application to a paved surface that would be managed through a risk management plan. Therefore, neither section 57 nor 58 of the Clean Water Act apply. We have comments from neighbors, Doug and Kathy Round. We, Kathy and Doug Round, reside at 6545 Roselle Road. After receiving and reviewing this application, we have no objections to the variance application. We have encountered no problems or issues resulting from the activities at 6537 Roselle Road. The property is very well maintained. All vehicles, trailers, etc., are neatly stored and out of sight. No issues with traffic, noise, or anything else. All said they are excellent neighbors. The last comment I received is from John Arnold, who states that this surely is more than a minor variance. The applicant is increasing the request for parking for the number of vehicles from 3 to 4, a 25% increase. I'm sure that this number will be increased immediately as the business expands. Why do we bother to have bylaws at all, in that variances are constantly being varied? I think that this request should be given a bit more thought. And that's the comments that I have received.
Just a question with respect to the GRCA. Did they have any concerns with this application?
Just that that they would have to apply for a permit.
Okay, I believe there's a box at the top of that thing that says something.
They said that they have no objections to the minor variance.
Okay, fair enough. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, and next we'll call in the applicant or agent for the applicant. Would Municipal Clerk Courtney Hortfox please have the owner applicant join a panelist to present her application?
Good evening. My name is Nicolette Van Ooyen. I'm with MHBC Planning and acting on behalf of the applicant. We are in concurrence with the staff report recommending approval of this application. Basically, the applicant is running a home industry out of their residence, and the only thing that they were not permitted to do was to park these vehicles in behind their garage, which is what we're here to ask permission for. So that's about all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll turn it over to the public now. Lynn, are there any registrants who have requested to speak?
No, I have not received any.
Courtney, would you please ask anybody if anybody in the audience has any questions or comments they wish to make?
If there's anyone in the attendee section that wishes to make a comment or pose a question, if you could just please use the raise your hand feature. Mr. Chair, I don't see any hands being raised.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll turn it over to the committee members. We'll start with Deep. Do you have any questions of the applicant?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I have two questions. First one is relates to the GRCA. Have they applied for the permit yet or no?
No, we were just notified of that permit request yesterday, I believe. But the owner is providing that immediately.
Okay. My second question is the trailers that are being parked in the back, are they being used for transportation or for storage?
For transportation. So they're basically open trailers to transport equipment from all of their different locations throughout southwestern Ontario.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So we'll turn it over to Paul. Do you have any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, thank you. I just want to just extend from Deep's question. I'm just trying to understand the size and scope of the vehicles and the trailers. Like, am I envisioning like a flatbed 52-foot trailer, or is it like what does the vehicle look like and what does the trailer look like?
Some of the vehicles are like pickup trucks. A couple of the vehicles are pickup trucks or vans. And then they just pull a small trailer because they transport things like rock climbing walls. So it's a small trailer, I would say max, whatever the length of a van is. Yeah, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Paul, for your benefit, one of the conditions suggested by our planning department staff that each trailer and vehicle not exceed 7.5 meters. So there's a limitation proposed that we can discuss as part of that.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll turn it over to Dan.
One question I had was, is this 7 days a week that they're parked there, or are they in and out, or how many times a day are they going in and out?
Typically, I think they're going in and out once a day. So the trailers leave in the morning and often come back at night. And it's just one of the regulations within the home industry definition that doesn't permit the overnight storage of vehicles, which is why we're here before you today.
Okay, thank you.
Dennis?
That covers me with those 3 questions. I'm good.
Okay, let's take it into our committee to discuss it. The conditions that staff are imposing are as follows. The number of trucks and trailers on the subject property cannot exceed 4 trucks and 4 trailers, that any activity relating to the repair and maintenance of a vehicle or trailer is prohibited, and then that the trucks and trailers can only be stored to the rear of the existing accessory building as per the location drawing, and 4, that the trucks and trailers associated with the home industry cannot exceed the length of 7.5 meters, exclusive of a hitch and tongue, or height of 3.2 meters measured from the ground to the highest point of the commercial motor vehicle. 5, that the parking area be separated from the neighboring property by 1.0 meter planting strip. And 6, that the home industry within the accessory building be kept to a maximum of 100 square meters. So just go around the table, see if anybody has any comments or questions regarding these suggested conditions. Deep?
Good, thank you.
Okay, Paul?
Oh, I'm good, thanks.
Okay, and Dan?
Well, just to clarify, if you can't have more than 4 trucks or 4 trailers, do they have personal vehicles? Are they included in this, in the 4 trucks?
I'll turn it over to the planning staff who crafted this. Zach?
Sure.
I
So through
can,
the,
go ahead, Zach, sorry.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, through the chair, you could revise the wording of the condition to clarify. I would say that it relates to the home industry, but you could say exclusive of personal vehicles on the property or something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Would that
That's it for me.
satisfy you, Dan, if we say exclusive of personal vehicles and go on to say that the trucks and trailers are sort of the home industry exclusive of personal vehicles?
Yeah, that wording would be good for me.
I guess that's a dimension. Okay, I was wondering if that's okay. Maybe should be on the condition 1. The number of trucks and trailers on the subject property cannot exceed 4 trucks and 4 trailers exclusive of personal vehicles. That's probably the better place.
Yeah.
Okay. Dennis?
Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay, I'll just go around to back check, circle it back around. Deep, you okay with that?
Yep, I'm good with this.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, okay, I'm good with that as well. Okay, so let's go through this and vote. And so we either approve, oppose, or defer. So in the matter of section 45 of the Planning Act as amended and new comprehensive zoning bylaw 23-2018 as amended, and an application for a minor variance requesting relief from section 4.12 to store 4 trucks and 4 trailers for home industry use. And the conditions are the 6 that I just read, with the one amended just at the last minute. So we'll go around the table again. It's either approve, oppose, or deferred. So we'll start with Deep.
Approved.
Paul?
Approved.
Okay, Dan?
Approve.
Dennis?
Approve.
And I, John Sepoulis, approve as well. Okay, and that's all done. And we'll move on to the next item.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so let's go through the rest of the agenda on this. There are no other matters, and we move into have a move to somebody to move the adjournment of the Committee of Adjustment at 7:17.
I'll move it.
Mover, Paul, second.
Paul.
Second it.
Okay,
Okay.
Deep will second it. Okay, all in favor, score on the table. Deep,
In favor.
Paul,
In favor.
Dan,
In favor.
Dennis,
In favor.
I'm in favor as well. Okay, so now let's move into the Planning and Development Advisory Committee. I'm calling the meeting to order. As I mentioned before, we had one property standards appeal that we will be just reviewing and rendering a decision. So the let's call the meeting to order and do a roll call again. So Deep,
Present.
Paul,
Present.
Dan,
Present.
Dennis,
Present.
and I'm present as well. Do we have any disclosures of pecuniary interest on this agenda?
No.
Lynn? Lynn?
No, Mr. Chair, I did not receive any.
Okay, so let's go to the next item, number 5, approval of minutes of August the 10th, 2021. Do I have a mover?
I'll move it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, moved by Deep and second by Dan. And let's go around the table and start with you, Deep.
Approved.
Paul,
Approved.
Dan,
Approve.
Dennis,
Approve.
I approve as well. So we have no application for site plan urban design review. We have no zoning bylaw amendment. We have no land division. And we'll move into item number 9, other matters, where we're dealing with the property standards appeal. So the we'll be acting as the property standards committee, hearing a property standards appeal before us. And this meeting of the Property Standards Committee is being called to consider appeals of orders to comply issued by the township's enforcement staff pursuant to Township of Wilson's Property Standards Bylaw 2021-10, the Building Code Act, and the statutory powers procedure. So I'll start by introducing the committee members and then the staff. And then we'll be asking the appellant to introduce himself as well. Courtney, is the appellant here already on the panel?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, just give me one moment and I'll check.
Okay. I see one attendee has his hand up.
Yes, I believe he is our appellant. I'm just double checking the name against the agenda here.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry. Then if you're able to advise, I believe it's not the same person that's listed on the order that's here to speak. If you could just advise of the name.
I believe it's Paul Sial, S-I-A-L. He'll be speaking on behalf of his father.
Okay, so he is here with us, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So would you please invite him in so we can introduce each other?
Yes, just one moment.
Okay, I see Paul Seil there. Paul, you're there? Great, thank you. So I'll start by introducing the committee members and the staff present for the hearing, and then we'll ask you to introduce yourself. So the committee members are Paul Sedra, Dan Kennedy, Dennis O'Connor, Deep Bassi, and myself, John Sapoulis. The staff members are Bylaw Enforcement Officer Eileen Lunevsky, Development and Legislative Coordinator Lynn Banks, Deputy Clerk Jeff Bunn, and Municipal Clerk Courtney Hoyt Fox. So, and please introduce yourself and your relation to the individuals owning the property.
Thank you, John. My name is Paul Sial, and I'll be speaking on behalf of my father-in-law, Jaspir Gill. And this is in regards to appealing Property Standards Code 217215.
Okay, thank you. So I'll read the actual agenda item. We're dealing with Property Standards Appeal 6577, Concession 4. And I'll outline the process. So the hearing is a formal process whereby those giving evidence will be sworn in before they do so. However, we'll try to keep the meeting as or hearing, I should say, as a relaxed fashion as much as possible. So we'll first ask the Property Standards Officer to be sworn in and give their evidence. Once he is finished giving his testimony, then the appellant and the committee members will have opportunity to question the evidence of the Property Standards Officer, and I'll allow 10 minutes for the appellant for questions. Then we'll have the appellant sworn in and also given the opportunity to give evidence, following which they may be questioned by representatives of the respondent, being the bylaw officer and the committee members. Then we'll hear the summation from both sides. And then the committee will will go behind closed doors and deliberate the matter amongst themselves and render a decision. The committee has authority to do one of four things: confirm, i.e. uphold the order as it currently stands, rescind the order, modify the order, and grant an extension of time to comply with the order. So once the committee has reached a decision, it'll come back to the public and either announce the decision verbally or advise that the appellant will receive the decision in writing from the Development Legislative Coordinator. And then before we start, please note, unless a question is needed for a point of clarification, please hold off your questions until the respective party is finished giving testimony. Okay, so we'll start now with the Property Standards Officer. Len, would you please swear in the Property Standards Officer?
Certainly. Ivan Lunevsky, do you swear or solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I swear.
Okay, so would you please provide your evidence?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just give me one moment here. Great. My name is Ivan Lunevsky, and I'm the Property Standards Officer with the Township of Buslinch, having so for the past year. This witness testimony that's being given is for the property at 6577 Concession 4. And I'm just going to provide a bit of a background, which is also included in the agenda of this package. So the township received a formal complaint regarding a newly constructed page wire fence with a barbed wire component surrounding the property. In the complaint details, the complainant, they advised that there was a concern about health and safety of their children, as well as a possible impending accident that could happen as a result of the barbed wire fence being present. So as a result of the complaint, staff is obligated to inspect everything to make sure that there is no unsafe condition on the property, as well as to follow up to ensure that if there's any violations that are rectified. On July the 5th, I've attended the property, and upon completion of the inspection, I have observed a page wire fence approximately 4 feet and 8 inches in height, with the top layer of the fence covered in a barbed wire portion, as you may see in the attachment number 2, where the photographs are provided for. During that inspection, I spoke with, I believe, the appellant who's present here, Mr. Paul, and he identified himself as the son of the property owners and advised me that the fence was recently rebuilt and the barbed wire was constructed in order to prevent intruders and break-ins on the property. He also advised me that there's also no livestock or farm uses being present on the property. On July the 13th, I spoke with Ms. Belginder Gill, who's an owner of the property, and contacted me to inquire regarding the inspection and what the next steps were. So I spoke with Ms. Gill to confirm the purpose of the barbed wire and asked her some questions, and she advised me that the property has been subject to break-ins in the past, and the barbed wire fence was installed in order to keep intruders out. I also inquired with Ms. Gill if there is any livestock being kept on the property, and Ms. Gill confirmed that there is no livestock currently being kept on the property. As a result of my inspection and my observations that I observed during the visit, I issued an order on July the 16th, which is attached as attachment number 1 here. And the subject of the order revolves around the unsafe condition that's posed from the construction of the barbed wire portion of the fence. In the order, there's 2 defects that were found. And in section 1.3 of the township property standards bylaw, it clearly states that no property shall be occupied if there's an unsafe condition on the property. And as a result, I have asked the owners to remove the barbed wire portion of the fence in order to ensure that the fence does not pose a hazard or risk to life, limb, or health of any person on or about the property. Defect number 2 refers to section 11.1b, which states that a fence should be free of any accident hazard. And as a result, I've asked that the barbed wire portion of the fence is removed to the same effect to ensure that the fence is free from any accident hazards. And I believe on the on July the 8th, the township received a application to appeal the property standards order, which was dated August the 1st. And the subject of the appeal, Mr. and Ms. Gill are disputing the property standards order for the following reasons: that the style of the fence is in line with the provisions included in 2 other township, which is Township of Center Wellington and Township of Minto bylaws. And they have provided copies of those bylaws with the sections highlighted that reference a barbed wire fence. Several adjacent farms around the neighborhood follow the same protocol for fences on their property and currently own barbed wire fences. The property owner referred to themselves as farmers and advised that the barbed wire fencing helps them protect their crops, as well against wild coyotes and animals that roam their property. And the barbed wire fence protects their pets and mitigates the risk of robberies that occur frequently in the area. And last but not least, that the owners are an older couple in their 70s, and the actions which were taken against them have caused them an undue stress and believe that the allegations are completely unwarranted. The owners have asked that the property standards order is rescinded as such. The township did review the appeal application, and in response to the application, made the following comments and conclusions. The property, which is located at 6577 Concession 4, is zoned as agricultural, covering an area of approximately 24.8 acres. And the property contains a single-family detached dwelling with an approximate size of 1,400 square feet, and an attached garage of 565 square feet. The property has a residential character and appears to be used for residential purposes. That's one of the key components in here. And that in the review of the appeal application, conducted some research on the matter as well. And I have spoken with Andrew Berry, who is an environmental specialist at OMAFRA, and was able to determine that the erection of barbed wire fencing is a standard farm practice for the purpose of keeping livestock from roaming away from the property and for protecting livestock from wild animals. The staff also received a letter from Mr. Jim Haddon and Miss Robin McLeod, and it's attached in attachment number 4 of the appeal application here. The home of Mr. Haddon and Miss McLeod is situated very close to the property line, and the installation of the barbed wire fencing causes several concerns for them, including but not limited to the probable injury of an elderly resident when stepping out to dispose garbage. They're concerned that she could easily slip and fall into the barbed wire, especially in winter periods. And they express concern about their grandchildren, which frequently visit the property. And although most of the time they're supervised, they could easily hurt themselves, and if they take a bad step or fall. And cutting the lawn has been quite difficult, especially on the slope down towards the fence at the back of their property, and it's difficult to balance the mower without running into the fence. There are some concerns about wild animals getting hung up on the barbed wire fence and getting injured. And they've also stated that the property owners do not own livestock or crops or have any agricultural related uses on the property. The barbed wire fence is only constructed in the front of the property and not in the rear where the farm field is located. Now, in conclusion, in review of the evidence, staff has the following comments and conclusions. The erection of the barbed wire fencing is a standard farm practice for the keeping of livestock. The property owner does not currently own livestock or have any active agricultural use. The barbed wire fencing only extends in and surrounds the front and side yard of the property and not the rear yard by the field. The erection of barbed wire fencing is a fortification that was made with the intention to prevent unauthorized entry and not as a standard farm practice. The erection of the barbed wire fencing on the property is deemed as an excessive fortification and is a barrier designed to hinder, obstruct, or prohibit access to or from the property and creates an unsafe condition on the property. And lastly, the erection of the barbed wire fencing is also prohibited and in violation of another township bylaw, which is the township fortification bylaw, and the section is included in the report as well. The erection of the barbed wire fencing causes the fence to create a condition for potential accident hazard, which is a clear violation of the township property standards bylaw, section 11.1b. And the fencing bylaw enacted in the township of Center Wellington, attached in the appeal application, considers the erection of barbed wire fencing only on agricultural properties for the sole purpose of containing livestock within the property. And Furthermore, the enactments of this bylaw and any other bylaws beyond the jurisdiction of the Township of Puslinch and that bear no relevance or significance in the enforcement of the property standards bylaw within our township. In conclusion, the township staff believes that the Planning Development Advisory Committee should confirm the order as written. And that's it, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So Paul Cial, you have 10 minutes to ask Ivan questions on his testimony.
Sure. Thank you, Ivan, and thank you, John, for allowing me to do so. Now, I take it you said you spoke with me, but I don't recall ever having a conversation. Yeah, and so you had said you spoke with Paul Gill, and he had said that this was an agricultural property, correct?
That's correct.
So that's in large part our defense, is that this has been used as an agricultural property for many, many years. It's 25 acres. While there is not livestock currently, there has been in the past, and there potentially will be in the future. And we worked with, I take it, Ivan, that you've seen many fences along your journeys in Puslinch and evaluating farms and agricultural sites. So you've seen these types of fences before, correct?
In the interest of transparency, your fence is the first fence that I've observed consciously that as a barbed wire fence. Most farm properties that I do visit have line fences, but they do not have barbed wire fences.
So one of the things that we had as part of our package is a letter from the fence builder who mentions the fact that he's built several of these fences in Puslinch on farmland, on agricultural properties like ours. We also have submitted a letter from one of the neighbors who has exactly the same fence and utilized the same fence builder for their property. So these fences are popular in our area, and for many of the reasons that Ivan mentioned, right? To keep coyotes and wild animals off the property and away from our crops, and to protect our pets and livestock potentially down the line. Yeah, and the fence is brand new. Our feeling is that the neighbors, for one reason or another, did not want to contribute in the building of the fences. This fence was there before, and we just rebuilt it. So this fence has been in existence for many years.
They took it down.
Oh, they took down the previous fence, and so we built this one on our property line.
Then they asked us to put it 4 feet, on the back. Then they cut it down without asking us.
And if you look at the pictures of the property, you can see that those allegations that it's difficult to take the garbage out or whatever it may be, the driveway is about 40 feet away from that fence, and there's a garden protecting residents on both sides from
running into those. Their garden is in our property.
Yeah.
And their basement going to the entrance to the basement is towards the garage on the opposite side. It's not on this side. There is no entry on this side towards the fence.
Paul, I'd rather you speak rather than
sure.
back, because it's very hard to hear, and it's you should be the spokesperson.
Yeah, I agree. Sorry about that, John. I mean, the reality is we followed the agricultural guidelines that were provided per section 4.2 that states that agricultural properties, specifically farm fences or commercial fences like this, can include a barbed wire component.
Okay, any other questions of Ivan?
No, thank you.
Fair enough, so let's turn it over to the committee. Deep, do you have any questions of our bylaw officer? Deep, you're muted. Okay, you're on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Okay, Paul.
No questions. Thanks.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Dan.
Was there a permit issued for this fence? Maybe a permit isn't required. I don't know. I'm just asking.
There was a previous fence that was exactly the same. But no, we don't have a formal permit. There wasn't one that was required, Dan, at the
Is there
time.
a permit? Is there a permit required, Ivan?
I believe, yeah, he was directing the question to me. Thank you, Dan.
Oh, sorry.
The township does not issue permits for fences. I believe there's no municipalities that do, so a permit is not required.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Dennis.
I'm okay.
Okay, I got a couple of questions. You're saying there's no farm use, there's no agriculture use, and Ivan, and Paul says there is agriculture use on there. I guess I just want a clarification on that point.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So from my observations and from speaking with the residents, I gather that there's no farm use in terms of there's no livestock being kept on the property. What I've been advised by a third party that a farm field in the back is being rented to somebody currently, but it's not currently being used by the owners.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll ask the appellant questions. Now, I'm a little bit unsure the extent of fencing that you're asking to remove. I'm clear on the frontage, and I'm clear on that portion between the neighbor and the appellant's in-laws. Is that the extent of the fencing you're asking to be removed? Barbed wire to be removed, rather?
Mr. Chair, just to be clear, the order stated that the barbed wire component of the fence being removed. So the intent is to remove it from the entire fence as a whole. So not just the frontage or the side near the between the subject properties.
Okay, Courtney, can you put up the drawing of the property? And then Ivan, can you just speak to the points on that fence look on the barbed wire thing? I'm not sure. Is it all the way to the back, and back is the piece that's not barbed wire? Like we're talking about the two long legs along the length as well?
Sure. I'm just going to wait for Courtney to display.
Certainly. Mr. Chair, did you want to see the drawings that were included in the package, or which which?
There's a overview that Ivan has, I believe, in his package. There's one drawing that shows the property in relation to the road.
Okay, I'm just going to pull up. I'm going to pull it up, and I can scroll through, and you let me know when we get to the.
Sure, that'll work.
Okay. So I believe this is attachment 2.
Keep going, keep going. Yeah, I want to. It's a plan. It's an overview.
Okay.
Through the chair, I believe I saw a map included within the appeal application.
Okay, perhaps in the appeal application, Courtney.
Okay.
That's probably my mistake.
Okay, let me just double check here. And sorry, was that included in the agenda package itself, or can you
Yes, it was. Yes,
it was? Okay. Okay, here we go. I think I've got it.
Okay. So you're talking the entire long lengths on both sides? Is that your intention as well as the frontage?
Mr. Chair, the barbed wire fencing that I observed during the inspection was immediately surrounding, I would say that would be the front of the property within the dwelling portion to each side of the property. And I didn't observe a barbed wire component in the back.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. Okay, and there's a photograph that you provided showing the fence line. I can't remember if it's the appellant provided or are you provided. There's one that shows the fence on the neighboring side. Sort of looking from the back of the property toward the front.
I believe there were some images provided.
Okay.
Is that the one?
No, keep going back. No, keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. No, okay, I guess it must be in the appellant's package, so I'm not sure.
I can scroll up, Mr. Chair. The appellant's package was just up here.
Okay. Okay, this one here. This looks like there's a fence going across at right angles behind the garage, behind a shed of the property. And it looks like it's got a strand of barbed wire on top of that. You see that, Ivan?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay, so that looks like an old piece of wire there.
That's right.
So when you say remove, is that to be removed too?
The subject, I guess, of the inspection was mainly the frontage of the property and not that portion. So the immediate concern is the front of, I guess, it will be the front yard, anything that's in front of the home and the immediate side near the dwellings on each side, as well as the road.
Okay, fair enough. So just a question, if you had one farm animal, would this order been issued?
So if they had livestock, technically it would fall within the guidelines of a standard farm practice.
Fair enough. Okay, thank you. So we'll now ask the appellant Paul Ciel to give his evidence. Lynn, would you please swear in the Paul Ciel?
Mr. Ciel, do you swear or solemnly affirm that the evidence you're about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do. Thank you, Lynn.
Okay, please present your evidence, Paul.
Sure. So as I mentioned, John, Chair, the picture that you just looked at showed both the new fence and the pre-existing fence that was taken down by the neighbors. And what you're seeing in terms of that collection of barbed wire at the end of the garage, that's actually on their side of the property now. And they haven't removed that by choice. If they had, fears around someone being injured, you would think that that would be the first thing that they would remove. But that being said, again, I just want to reiterate that this is 100% an agricultural property. It's 25 acres. Yes, we do lease out some of the land to farmers in the area because my parents are older. They can't till the land as they once could. There has been livestock here before in the form of chickens and other livestock. There potentially could be livestock here before. And when we were building the fence, those were the decisions that we were making. We did not want to hinder the option of one day resuming having some livestock in the backyard as we once did have. I will also state that this fence is consistent with other farms adjacent to us and in the area. So I've included a letter from our neighbor that has exactly the same fence and used the same builder as we did. And you can see in the letter, she mentions the fact that she's concerned about coyotes coming and wild turkeys coming in and eating the crops and also hurting their farm animals as well. Thirdly, again, I just want to mention this fence is on our property, on our side of the property. So it's not a shared fence. It's clearly on our side. So we have about 4 feet. We were respectful of the distance that we need to be at in order to make sure that the grandkids and other people visiting them would be safe. And, you know, I think this is, my feeling is that this is a personal attack rather than one, and probably frivolous at that, rather than one that's laden in actual fact. So Our position is that given that this is 100% an agricultural property and potentially could have livestock, even if it didn't have it at the moment that Mr. Ivan came by and saw, that doesn't mean that we won't have livestock again or potentially couldn't. And the rest of the land is currently being utilized as 100% farmland. We have crops every year and we lease out. So this is an agricultural property, and the reality is there are coyotes, there are wild turkeys that eat our crops. So we have to do everything and we can to protect ourselves.
So is that it, Paul?
Yes, it is. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Ivan, do you have any questions of Paul regarding his testimony?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. Paul, I am not sure if I spoke with you, but is Paul Gill a cousin or a sibling? Or?
He's my brother-in-law. So the Gills are my father-in-law and my mother-in-law, and Paul is my brother.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. When I spoke with Paul in our brief chat, I just had a conversation in regards to the farm field in the back and what practices are being used. So my question to you is, do you see other farmers specifically constructing barbed wire fencing around crops? And do you believe that having the barbed wire component, which is at the very top of the fence, would be able to prevent, let's just say, wild turkeys, which are generally animals that are not of a height that would reach that perimeter, or coyotes for that matter, to be able to breach the fence?
Ivan, what I will say to that is that we researched extensively before getting the fence built. It was an investment for us. Obviously, you know, these fences are expensive. In having conversations with the builder, he informed us that he's built several fences like this on farm properties in Puslinch. And so we heeded that as the advice that we were willing to follow in terms of, you know, this is the subject matter expert. He's built these fences. And so we built it based on his guidelines and what he had said that he had built before in Puslinch for other farmers like us.
Thank you very much. And you mentioned that you had livestock in the past. How long ago was that?
How long? So 7 or 8 years ago, they did have livestock here. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And do you mind specifying what kind of livestock was kept on the property?
Chickens, not us. They had.
Chickens and
Yeah.
chickens and cows.
Chickens and cows. Okay. And were you the owner of the property or your parents at that time?
No.
No, they were not. They were not.
Okay. So in terms of your parents or the owners of the property, have they ever owned livestock on the property?
They have owned livestock before, but they've only been in this property for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
We
bought it in
14. Yeah, in 2014. So they just retired and are starting to resume farm activity. They had rented out the house to another farmer before that. So they just moved back in to this home.
Okay, and my question was, have they owned livestock on this property?
No, we have not.
No, they've only been here
Fix the barn. We're working on it.
We fixed the barn,
Yeah, they're fixing up the property to resume some of the activities that they had
We spent
undertaken
50,000 on the
before.
barn.
Okay, and you mentioned that you currently have crops at the rear, and
Yes.
that's but that is not currently maintained or owned by your parents, and it's being rented out to somebody else, right?
It is owned by my parents, but it's being rented out to another farmer who has a little bit more heavy machinery to till the land.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's turn it over to the committee members. We'll start with you, Deep.
No, I don't. I'm okay.
Okay, Paul.
No questions.
Okay, Dan.
No, I'm good.
Dennis.
Yeah, is there any buildings that can house livestock on the property?
Hi, Dennis. Yeah, absolutely. We just got the barn rebuilt.
Fixed.
Fixed. Yeah, so they invested about 50,000 to get the barn rebuilt with the intention of potentially housing animals in there. So there is a
So
big
was there
barn on the
a
lot.
farm, MDS, was there a permit as a farm building for that barn?
No, it was already there.
It was a pre-existing structure. They just renovated it.
was renovated.
Renovated to house cattle or?
Yeah, on the cattle.
Potentially, it's to house animals, potentially cattle. That's what they were
Or
thinking.
sell it and house.
Okay. Good.
You good?
Yep.
Okay. Why is there no barbed wire at the back of the property?
There is barbed wire, sorry, Chair, there is barbed wire all around the property, including the back.
Okay, so our bylaw officer said there wasn't any, so you're saying there is.
Yes, there is.
Okay, when was the fence put in?
We have
Last year.
the built last year, 2020.
Okay, and what was the type of fence before? Did it have the barbed wire across the front side and the sides?
Yes.
It was exactly the same fence. It's just been completely renovated. Yeah, redone.
They cut it down. They cut it down.
Okay, so you're saying you may have livestock in the future? What's your time frame? When would you likely have livestock in the future?
Well, both my in-laws are just recently retired. They're both farmers by trade, long history of farming. So potentially the reason that they renovated the barn was to potentially house animals in the next couple of years. I'm not saying that, necessarily they're going to have a huge cattle farm here, but horses, potentially a couple of horses and chickens.
Okay, fair enough. That's all the questions I have. So let's ask both the property standards officer and the appellant to summarize their evidence. So with the property standards officer, Ivan, would you please summarize your evidence?
Mr. Chair, just to summarize, I guess, the conclusion of my findings. As I mentioned before, I do investigate quite a lot of rural properties and have done so in the past 4 years. I do go and conduct investigation in both agricultural properties used for agricultural purposes and agricultural properties used for residential purposes. And I believe in my inspections, I have yet to see barbed wire fencing being used frequently. I have seen maybe 1 or 2 properties in another municipality, and I've seen also electric fencing being used for the keeping of cattle. The conversation that I had with the environmental specialist from OMAFRA, in my deep conversation, I was able to confirm that the barbed wire fencing at the top of the fence is being added for the purpose of making sure that livestock are kept within the property. So when they do arrive at the ending point of the fence, livestock, typically such as cattle, would be taller, and when they do arrive at the fence, it would trigger a response mechanism of them with the pain response to stay within the property and not depart from the property. And it's relatively a cost-effective method to keep livestock within the property. So in my opinion, I have no objection to the barbed wire fencing being used for agricultural purposes, as the intention of the property standards bylaw is not to interfere or hinder any normal standard farm practices. My concerns are that the property that's currently that I've inspected is being used for residential purposes, and the property owners do not have any active agricultural component that they manage themselves. So the properties, they do not have livestock, and the crops that they they currently rent out to another farmer are not being managed by themselves. So with that being said, the purpose of the barbed wire fencing is not for agricultural purposes, in my opinion. And therefore, I believe that should be removed, at least the areas where it has the capability of causing an unsafe condition to surrounding property owners or somebody that would potentially visit the property, such as a visitor or a delivery person or something like that, especially in with times being sorry, with the day being shorter right now, and the sun coming down quicker, delivery persons might not be able to see the barbed wire component of the fence, and essentially be prone to injury, as well as other residents around the area. So my conclusion, I believe that the barbed wire fencing should be removed if there is no active agricultural uses and if there's no livestock being kept on the property until such time that the livestock is returned to the property.
Thank you. Paul, would you please summarize your appeal?
So I just want to say that firstly, to argue that this is not an agricultural property is grossly misguided. This is clearly an agricultural property. It's a farm property. You saw in the aerial shots. I mean, there's not a lot of houses in this area. It's all farmland. It's 25 acres of farmland. Whether we manage it or we hire someone to manage it, it doesn't matter. It's still being used as an agricultural property. And as the letter of the law states, that an agricultural property can have a barbed wire fence. If our intention is not to hurt our neighbors or pose a risk or to our neighbors' grandchildren, we feel that the fence is safely on our side of the property line, and unless someone wants to hit the fence purposely or intentionally, that's the only way that they would come in contact with it. So under that premise that this is an agricultural property, and whether we have livestock right now or we potentially have livestock in the future, we have had livestock in the past, and we wouldn't build a fence without considering that possibility in the future. And hence we did our research. We talked to a lot of fence builders, and we talked to a lot of our neighbors, and a lot of them have similar fences to ours. Hence you see the letter from one of our adjacent neighbors that's kind of venting her concern around this reading, because then you basically have to go to every farm property in this area and gauge whether their barbed wire fence is safe or not. So that's what our position is, and we think this is an attack more of a personal nature than one that's really under the guise of being fearful of getting hurt or injured.
Thank you. So the committee will now retire to deliberate the item amongst themselves, and will render decisions. So as I mentioned before, we have the authority to do one of four things: confirm, i.e. uphold the order as it currently stands, rescind the order, modify the order, or grant an extension of time to comply with the order. Okay, so Courtney, would you please take us into confidential part of the meeting?
Certainly, Mr. Chair. I'll just ask that any attendees watching, as well as our bylaw enforcement officer and our defendant, if they could also just voluntarily remove themselves from the meeting. If I remove you, then you won't be allowed back in. It's just the way Zoom works. So if you don't mind just clicking the leave meeting, and you can certainly check back in about 10-15 minutes for when the meeting is back up and we're out of deliberations. Staff will make sure to email our defendant and our bylaw officer to let you know when we come back into open session. So I believe we have all but one attendee not left, Miss Nicolette Van Owen. I believe she was here to present, so I'm for the minor variance, so I may just remove her, Mr. Chair, because I don't think this pertains to her.
Good, thank you. Okay, so we have Paul here and Ivan. Okay, gentlemen, no discussion. We basically reached a decision. And if you disagree with the decision, you may file an appeal with the Superior Court of Ontario. So first is remove barbed wire from front of property by October 31st, 2021. Second is remove barbed wire from the length of adjacent lot lines by October 31st, 2021, and this means on each side. Remove the rest of the barbed wire if there is no livestock that would require barbed wire under normal farm practices on the property within 2 years of this date being September 14th, 2021. So the two reasons for our decision is there's no livestock currently on the property, and the adjacent residential lots do not have barbed wire fencing. So that's a decision, and if you disagree, you may wish to file an appeal with the Supreme Court.
Sir, so if we were to get livestock prior to those dates, would that circumvent that ruling?
Prior to October 31st?
Correct.
We cleverly said that would require barbed wire normal farm practices. So you'd have to look at the normal farm practices, and a chicken is not considered livestock.
And the cow? No. Cow near.
Okay, is there a formal definition of what animals consist of livestock?
I think you should look at the farm practices, OMAFRA.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that concludes our meeting on this item. So let's move on to the next item, which is the review and approval of 2022 PDAC meeting dates. So I'll go around the table if there's any questions or comments. Deep?
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, Paul?
Good, thanks.
All right, Dan?
I'm good.
Dennis?
I'm good.
And I'm good as well. The only caveat I suggest, Lynn, is just check with the county, the March break and December is usually, in summertime, they have usually screwy meeting dates. And you may have to adjust some of them just to accommodate their schedule.
Okay, yeah, I can check with Deborah Turchett tomorrow at the county.
Sure, and then we can you can cover it off at the next meeting type of thing if there's any changes.
Okay, will do.
Okay, fair enough. So number 10, closed meeting none. Next meeting is Tuesday, October 12th at 7 p.m. And move to adjourn a meeting at 8:35 p.m. Have a mover. Dennis, second. Paul. Okay, all in favor? Let's go around the table. Deep.
In favor.
Paul.
In favor.
Dan.
In favor.
Dennis.
In favor.
I'm in favor. All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. So we'll see you next month.
See you guys.
Take care.
Night.
Take care, Paul.